Hello, welcome to Dual Credit US History B, Unit 2. I love this unit. I can say that for every unit, honestly, because this unit talks about the time between World War One and World War Two, which was a very interesting time in our history for sure. Okay, so let's get started. So after World War One ended, um, there were a lot of people who wanted a lot of things to happen, and one of them was prohibition. And prohibition ended up being not a really great idea. But there were a lot of women, and they were wanting to have the vote, which they eventually got in 1920. And they also got the idea that booze wasn't going to be available, wasn't going to be sold according to the 18th Amendment. Okay, please make sure that you're going through your focus notes as I'm going through this, okay, because it will help you a lot. So anyway, so 18th Amendment passes right before the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And the idea was that no booze could be sold in the United States. And the problem was it made for a huge underground, um, place of selling booze, which wasn't really the best that happened. My husband's family has quite a few stories of making booze in the basement of his grandfather's home and stuff like that. So, it was what it was. But at the beginning of the Depression, the prohibition was definitely taken out because it was seen as maybe not the best idea. Um, and then you had, in the 1920s, we had the flapper generation. We had all of these men that had just arrived home from World War II. We had all of this stuff that people wanted to buy. And so they did. And it was known as a very materialistic society in the 1920s. And we had what was called the lost generation, and they were the authors who rejected all of the materialism at this time. And probably coming later, the people wish that they had listened to them more. So then we have the 1930s and the crash of the stock market and the beginning of the Great Depression and and all of the plants in the Midwest and the Dust Bowl and all of that happening. So the Great Depression, was when all the stocks that were bought on margins crashed, and it was found that was maybe not a good idea. A lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people lost their jobs. All of a sudden, they were looking for jobs. I love, this is my favorite painting of this era. It's not a painting; it's a picture by Dorothea Lange. And if you look at it from, if you look at the whole picture, it's really interesting to see all of the things that this homeless woman is doing in this picture, and the ideas that it is trying to convey. And to me, this picture really represents what was happening during the Great Depression. So we have the New Deal that happened during the Great Depression. And in order to pass all of the legislation that was passed with the New Deal, President Roosevelt realized that it was all going to go to the Supreme Court, and it was probably all going to get struck down, right? And so he had the idea of, well, let's just make more Supreme Court justices in the Supreme Court so that they're all going to pass it and it's going to be okay, right? That's not really constitutional either. Um, However, before he could make more Supreme Court justices, a lot of them, died or retired and stuff like that. And so he actually appointed quite a few more Supreme Court justices, which was still court packing, you know. Um, but it was more constitutional than what he wanted to do as far as court packing. And so the court was packed. Eventually, what really happened during the Great Depression was that we entered World War II. So, we entered World War II with the bombing at Pearl Harbor. And that really kind of did away with the Depression as it was. Um, so, so that's really how, the Depression was stopped, I guess, was with that. So, um, let me explain to you. But there's some really cool stuff that happened during the Depression. Okay, so um, here is your Unit 2 page in my website. Okay, once again, here's the Dorothea Lange picture. Like I say, it's one of my favorites, so you'll probably see it a lot as you talk to me about it. And what I want you to do with the New Deal is I want you to make a promotion brochure for one of the New Deal programs, okay? There are lots of programs that went with the New Deal: the Civilian Conservation Corps, the Civil Works Administration, Tennessee Valley Authority, we can still Farm Service Administration. There's a lot of these places. So what I would like you to do is make a brochure that talks about one of these things, okay? So I need you to do some research and tell me the name of the program, what is expected and how was it created, the hours that are necessary for working, any prior experience or skills that are necessary, and what kind of pay to expect from the program. Remember the 3 R's of the New Deal, which is relief, recovery, and reform. Okay, so that was why all of these programs were made, and it was for the relief of the unemployed, recover of the economy, and reform of capitalism, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so I want your brochure to be attractive and to say why the agency was created, prior skills, have the 3 R's, which of the 3 R's it most fulfills, and how. And I need to see a works cited in MLA format, okay? And I have on my website how to do that. So anyway, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.